Hello and welcome to today's lesson where we're looking at influence, a simple three-step process that can help you to influence anyone. During our careers, there are many different kinds of people that we may need to influence. That could be our team, our boss, our colleagues, potential clients, and even potential partners that we want to maybe have a joint venture with. Now, it's important to note that coercion and manipulation is not the same as influence. Coercion and manipulation are basically forcing people to do what you want, and that will often be against their will. But in those situations, you don't have their support. You haven't succeeded in winning their support, so it isn't, exerting influence. Now, there are 3 steps to this influencing process, and we'll go through each in turn, but briefly they are: agree the problem opportunity, outline a solution, and gain explicit agreement on the way forward. And the word explicit is important in this context. So step 1, agree the problem opportunity. So different people see the world through different perspectives, different lenses. And the challenge for us as influencers is to find the common ground behind which everyone can unite. And there are 2 levers you can use which can help. Now, the first lever is fear and greed. Now, fear is a very powerful motivator. So can you position your proposal so that it prevents or de-risks something from happening? So, for example, it stops maybe a fine for non-compliance with something. So that's the fear aspect. The greed aspect is what's in it for the business. So can you show that more money will be made, for example? And the second lever you can use here is what's in it for me. And what's in it for me doesn't refer to the business, but it more refers to the person you're trying to influence. So this means what's in it for them personally. So for example, maybe if you do this piece of work, you'll make them look really good to others in the business, or them look really good to their boss. Now, the second step is to outline a solution. So once the problem or opportunity has been agreed, you'll obviously need to outline your solution. And there are 3 factors that you need to keep in mind that will increase the likelihood of your solution being accepted. So the first one is to preempt objections. So think about the objections that people are likely to have in advance, and then kind of try and address them during your solution. Now, if you have kind of problem individuals who you think will be hard to win over, you may wish to speak with them one-on-one before you try and, for example, present your proposal to a group. And that will stop the meeting being disrupted with their objections in front of the rest of the group. Now, the second factor to keep in mind is reducing the risk. And this is about making it easy for people to say yes. So, for example, perhaps you could suggest running a pilot program before you properly roll out the full solution. Or maybe you could identify some early wins to convince everyone your idea is the right one before you take it to the next step. And the final factor to keep in mind, and this is an important one that people often overlook, is to overcome idleness. And this is another form of making it easy for them to say yes, but it's concerned with making it easy for them to say yes, as opposed to making it easy for the business to say yes. So this is about, overcoming their inertia. So putting the proposal to them in such a way so that basically there's nothing for them to do. So all maybe they need to do is give their approval, and then you will go off and do the hard work, or you will go off and do the donkey work. So step 3, gaining explicit agreement on the way forward. Now, this step is about closing. And closing isn't just for salespeople. Everyone who wants to influence others needs to learn how to close. And there are 4 types of close we're going to look at today. So the first one is the assumed close. And this is where you simply indicate what action you're going to take going forward. Now, it's a very assertive close, as it kind of assumes the other person's agreement. And if you're going to use this close, be sure that they really do agree. The second close is the action close. This is similar to the assumed close, but you focus on the next steps that you're going to take and then ask if the person agrees with the next steps you've outlined. The third close is the alternative close. This is a sneaky but very powerful close. You give the other person a choice. Would you prefer A, the premium option, or B, the standard option, for example? Now, this sounds really reasonable if you're giving them a choice, but actually it's a very limited choice. You're giving them the options of A or B, both of which are acceptable to you, but you're not asking them if they would prefer to have no option at all. Now, this kind of close is difficult for people to disagree with. It takes a lot of effort on their part to disagree with you. And the final close we're going to look at is the direct close. Now, this is the simplest, but probably the most dangerous type of close. So you ask the question, do you agree with the way forward? Now, you should only really close in this way if you know that what the answer is going to be, just like a good lawyer would only ask this question if they knew exactly what the answer was going to be. A more subtle close that I sometimes like to use is, can you live with this as a way forward? And the reason that's a nice close is to object with this close, the person has to really strongly disagree. You're not asking if they agree with you, you're asking if they can live with it. And it becomes a much more effective way of closing because of that. So that's it. The 3-step model of influence we've discussed provides a great framework for thinking about how to achieve your agenda within a complex political or work environment. It's worthwhile taking the time to study and remember the different ways to close, and this can be useful, in a whole variety of situations, both in the office and out of it.